Well, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today we are going to be doing our last series of the fifth house lords, as in fifth house lord in the 12th house. And what it happens when a planet that controls the fifth house in your horoscope is sitting in the 12th house. Well, what is the fifth house? Fifth house represents education, children, creative self-expression, speculative business like sports betting, gambling, stock market, entertainment business. It represents romance. It represents your past life deeds. And it also represents things related to, spiritual scriptures and reading of the scriptures. But nowadays we more call it the education, but it's still part of this fifth house series. And fifth house is all about fun and games, because wherever children are involved, whatever house, you're going to have fun and you're going to play games there, because that's what children love to do more than anything. Okay. So then it goes into the 12th house. Well, what is the 12th house? 12th house is a house of isolation, privacy, being alone, being in a foreign lands, being in places like hospital, jail cells, monasteries, asylums. It just represents a quiet place where the world is not there. Okay. So what this shows is that when planet goes into the 12th house is that your creative self-expression really comes is when you're alone by yourself, when you're going onto the mountain and walking in ranges, walking ranges, and you are isolated from the world. And that's when your imagination flourishes, because 12th house is imagination. And so your creative imagination flourishes when you're alone. You know how many people okay, I need to be alone, I need to think. Or many times writers, they have to be in an alone, isolated place with nature and to express themselves and get the ideas for their book and writing or movie scripts. That happens with this placement. It shows that your education will take place in foreign lands, including your children will be born in foreign lands, or your children will be through a foreign spouse, or you could even have adopted children at the same time. Okay. This also shows that somebody who may excel in foreign stock markets. They may, do currency trading with foreign exchanges. And at the same time, it shows that your romantic side has a very spiritual side to it, meaning that you like to express your romantic side when you're in a spiritual place. Like if you go on a first date, you'll be like, hey, let's go to a hike, or let's go to this spiritual place, and let's go to wine country so we can be alone, isolated, and get to know each other. Like these are the people who love isolated things. They like to take their like the romantic interest into private places so they can get to know more, get them to know more. But depending upon what planet is going from fifth house to the 12th house, that will also change some of the scenarios. So let's discuss that. And before we get started with the fifth lord through houses, if you want to know where your fifth house lord is placed and where all of your planetary placements are, for that, check out the links here and check out my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including your full astrological report and numerology report right here on this link. Okay. So let's say if your sun controls the fifth house, goes into the 12th house, shows that your personality and your creative self-expression really is expressed in a privacy or in a private setting. Your personality is very private. Your confidence and self-esteem really comes about when you deal with people on individual to individual basis. Like your confidence will really be there if you're able to interact with a person on one-on-one basis, versus being in the center of the whole crowd. That's where you'll get kind of scared and it'll be like, no, I need to be by myself, and you'll be kind of very introverted. So it also shows a very introverted personality. However, creatively, these people do very well in foreign lands. In foreign lands, their creative self-expression will come out, their creative side will come out, as well as these people make very good foreign diplomats, because here the sun that represents the government goes into the 12th house, and fifth house is also the house of political arena. So it shows that somebody who might be a great politician, especially dealing with foreign affairs and foreign lands. Okay. Moon controls your fifth house, goes into the 12th house, shows that your mother was traveling a lot in your life, and she wasn't there for you. She was always traveling, and so you felt kind of malnourished. And this is why your creative self-expression really comes when your mind is in an isolated place. Well, when you are constantly daydreaming, like these are the people who would really be those writers and poets and artists who love being alone, and the mind is also very scientific, and they find their creative self-expression in a scientific environment. Like they can be one of those people who discovers the DNA, or they can be one of those people like from the movie Mr. India, whose dad discovers this device that can make you invisible. That's actually one of the greatest Indian movie ever made. And quote unquote, and you can quote me on this, that Shekhar Kapoor is the best director in India ever. Anyway, so let's say if Mercury rules your fifth house, Mercury goes into the 12th house, shows somebody who can be a businessman and does foreign trade in a foreign land. Somebody who can be a stockbroker in foreign lands, an accountant in foreign lands. And these people, especially in the time period of Mercury, will go to foreign lands to study and finish their education. It shows their children will also find their creative self-expression in foreign lands, and these people make great writers because their intelligence is really not driven through imaginative source, and they're able to organize it as well. Their imaginative source, they're able to organize it, they're able to section it and drive all the ideas one at a time. So it's not too chaotic, but it's very imaginative. Venus controls your fifth house. Venus goes into the 12th house, shows that somebody who will find their creative self-expression again in a privacy of their own settings, but at the same time they will find their creative self-expression in beautiful places, in places that where they can enhance their not only their creative self-expression but their romantic side as well. And they look for people who are very imaginative themselves, who they'll all actually meet people in foreign lands or in very isolated places. Their way of romantically expressing themselves will either be in a privacy or pleasure of their bed, which is sex, so they can be very oversexed people, or at the same time they love traveling in foreign lands and love taking their romantic interest to foreign lands, and that's where they find that that's how they love expressing themselves creatively. Because for 12th house, as I forgot to mention, it's also the house of bed pleasures. So Mercury and Venus both here makes a person express themselves really great in the bed. Same thing with Mars. If Mars controls the fifth house and Mars goes in the 12th house, shows that somebody whose creative self-expression side comes from passion and sexual activities. Somebody who may find their creative self-expression in martial arts and yoga, because fifth house is sports and fun, and that's what Mars represents. And so shows that somebody who would incline towards these things. It also shows that somebody who may go to foreign lands to be in competition, in sports competition. Somebody who, as a soldier, will go to foreign land to fight as well, because that's what Mars is. Okay. With Mars controlling the fifth house and the 12th house, shows somebody who may go to foreign lands to study engineering, because that's what Mars represents, or will go to foreign lands to study chemical or chemistry. Let's say if Jupiter controls your fifth house, Jupiter goes into the 12th house, shows that somebody who is very spiritual, somebody who attains their intelligence through isolated places, who may become a monk, who may become a person who lives in monasteries, or these people are very good in international financing. They go to or work for multinational companies where deal with finance and financial advising, but mainly these people make great astrologers, they make great spiritual teachers, they also make very good classical singer, dancers, and musicians, because that's what Jupiter represents. And so with Venus also it does that, but with Jupiter people have love for great classical arts and music in this, with this type of a placement. And the person gets their intelligence through a divine source, meaning that they could be very psychic, they could be very not psychic, but they're very in tune, because the psychic part will really come with Ketu and moon involvement in the 12th house. But here it shows that children will be born definitely with a foreign spouse or in foreign lands, and because through your children you will be able to explore their spiritual side of life, and your creative and spiritual side of life will enhance your money, because Jupiter is a significator of money in everybody's birth chart. Shows there will be involvement of foreign affairs or foreign things in order to make your money. You will not be able to make your money just doing things in your own homeland. It'll require you somehow, some way, whether it's you selling stuff to a customer from foreign lands or you going to the foreign lands to make money. That's how it's going to be. Let's say if Saturn controls your fifth house, goes into the 12th house, shows that somebody who will go to foreign lands to perhaps study mechanical things, to perhaps to study law, yeah, perhaps to study things related to iron, steel, and coal. They can be the engineers of these subjects. But at the same time, Saturn, it's all about work, manual work, routine work, routine labor. It's about being disciplined and organized. So they're very organized when it comes to their spiritual life. But the thing is, Saturn here may block their access to foreign lands for a while. Like they may not be able to go to foreign lands unless, of course, they have support of other planets. Because here Saturn is delaying things. Saturn is delaying their access to foreign lands, access to spiritual thinking, access to divine thinking, access to imagination. So these people have a hard time imagining things. They feel so stressed when they have to artistically imagine something. They may be very good in mathematics, or they may be very good in, like administrative jobs in foreign lands. But when it comes to doing imaginative things, Saturn must have help from other planets in order to really do what they do. But these people can, work in hospitals and asylums and be warden in jail, where they will be working with very either old inmates, or they will be working with very old patients, or handicapped patients in the medical field, especially with Saturn being in this house for the fifth house. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to an end to Fifth Lord in the 12th House series. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your fifth house is placed in all of my books on astrology, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with something else. Bye-bye.